Good evening, everyone. On behalf of IIT Bombay Alumni Association, may I extend a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. We have a very special guest today with us, Mr. Sanjay Bramhane, Director of Air Safety of Western Region at DGCA. Mr. Sanjay Bramhane has done his BTech in Aeronautical Engineering from IIT Bombay. He had a special interest in experimental aerodynamics. He did his research work during BTP on bland airfoils and later did wind tunnel experiments with Professor S.D. Sharma for a review paper. He joined DRDO as a scientist B through campus selection. In his first job, he worked on aero engines of fighter aircraft. Thereafter, he joined DGCA through UPSC in the cadre of 1993. In 1996, he acquired his basic license in aircraft maintenance. This is still considered to be a very difficult process. In the air safety department, he has been investigating various incidents of aircraft crashes. He was a technical member in the committee that investigated the ill-fated helicopter crash which killed AP Chief Minister Y.S. Rajasekhara Reddy. Besides his interest in aviation and technology, he has pursued his interest in law and earned his LLB from Mumbai University. Since 2018, he is the regional director for air safety for the Western region that includes the states of Maharashtra, Goa, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and the Union territories of Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. The entire Mumbai High Seas region is also under his direct supervision for helicopter operations. It is a privilege to welcome you to today's session, Mr. Brahmane. I'm handing over the podium to you.
Thank you. In fact, when it is air safety, the topic is very vast. But I have, in this process of when I was asked, I thought that, okay, I'll just try to concise it in such a way so that it is made a little bit interesting, as well as little bit of gyan can be given on air safety to the IITB graduates. When we say about air safety, it encompasses the safe skies, and when we give the safe skies to all the air machines which are flying in air, first thing which comes to my mind is air traffic management. And we look at air traffic management, Mumbai airspace, if you see, it's considered to be very crowded airspace. So in such a crowded airspace, when you have to manage the traffic, it takes a lot of efforts and lot of planning, a lot of management, a lot of processes and procedures and standard operating procedures which are for the specific areas goes into making the air traffic management the most efficient traffic management of Mumbai airspace. If I have to show you something about the air traffic management, we have anytime in Mumbai, nowadays we have got the flight radar. You just click onto the flight radar and you'll find lots and lots of aircrafts are merging all the Mumbai airspace, and you can see lots of aircraft which are dispersing from the Mumbai airspace. So these two phenomena which are occurring simultaneously has to be separated. Every aircraft which has to be prioritized as per their flight levels. The landing has to be prioritized, and not only prioritized, but it has to be brought safely to the terminal area so that the aircraft can land safely. At the same time, the vertical separations, the lateral separations which are required to be between the two aircrafts are not breached, because that is an hazard. You all are aware that we had a very disastrous accident over Charkhi Dadri, where two foreign aircrafts had collided with each other and almost 500 lives lost. So you can imagine that how critical it is when all this traffic which converges to one particular point for landing, and simultaneously the traffic which goes out of that particular airspace uh, for the various destinations, and how it has to be managed. We have got certain things. We have got radar, and this radar is the most advanced radar which we have got. This radar has a software inbuilt. So what happens is, at the console level, at the radar controller level, he is able to the controller is able to see the traffic. At the same time, he also sees the various flight levels at which this flight aircraft is flying, and if it is descending, at what rate of descent the aircraft is coming down. So here is one of the typical, I have tried to show you something. This is a surface movement control, uh, and we have got a tower control which is being monitored and controlled for this, the aerodrome control rating. Now how complicated it is, you can understand that every controller has to be rated. They have to be trained on particular area. So the controller does not track the one particular controller does not track the aircraft when it is coming. For example, let us say the aircraft which is coming from Delhi all the way to Bombay, he doesn't aircraft that aircraft, that particular aircraft throughout the flight. No, there is tower controller who will get the aircraft from the next level of controller, who will be managing the approach control. That means all the aircraft which are approaching, say the aircraft uh, to around approach control will start, say, approximately around 10,000 feet or so. From there itself, this particular controller, that is approach controller, will take over this aircraft. Prior to that, it will be the radar controller who will bring this aircraft, or he will sequence this aircraft, the aircraft which is coming into the Mumbai or any of the terminal area, the area where he wants to land. It can be Mumbai, it can be Aurangabad, it can be any of the airports in this region. But when he's coming for that particular destination, the radar controller, the approach controller, and this tower controller, the tower controller's responsibility is, when this aircraft is coming into the final approach and when it could be seen, more or less at that time, the aircraft is handed over to this tower controller, who will see that the runway is clear, there is no obstruction on the runway, and the aircraft can be landed safely. So the responsibility of this particular controller is to see to it that the runway is safe to land. Apart, all the facilities which are required in case of any mishap, all those facilities, that can be rescue facilities, that can be firefighting facilities, all these facilities at that time are available. And hence his primary responsibility is limited to that particular landing and the terminal area. So we have got here in Mumbai, you can approximately, we have got two runways, cross runway operation. I mean, supposed to be, you can just see here, we have got one runway which is straight east-west. You can see the red line is there on that. And the another one is the cross runway. So the runway approach on the eastern side, on the eastern side, you can see, and on the western side, we have Juhu, and on the eastern side, the aircraft, most of the aircraft, when you see, they will be approaching from the Navi Mumbai side, right? So we have got this runway, and we have got the another runway which is there. So one is a primary runway and another is a secondary runway. So in case there is any damage to the runway anywhere, what we do is, immediately the second runway is offered, and this runway is taken for repair or maintenance. So this is how the operation at the terminal area goes. Now, most important thing which is here is that at one particular time, if you look from the tower, you will find that at least 10 to 15 aircrafts will be there in the terminal area. There will be at least 15 to 20 aircrafts, or even more than that. You can see that all the aircrafts are lined up to the base, we have got almost 40 to 60 bays. So 60 aircrafts can be parked at one particular time, right? So you can imagine what kind of volume of passenger movement can happen at that time, what kind of fuel dispensers which will be coming to the aircraft. So every movement in the terminal area, then in the airport, I'm saying, is actually a movement which is hazard. Why I'm saying is hazard? Because if there is a movement, then there is always a chance of this particular path of this particular moving object crossing the path of another moving object, and that is an hazard. So we deal with this hazard in a very specific manner. We have got a radar which is called surface movement radar, and this surface movement radar which will be tracking all the moving objects in the runway. It will be tracking the aircrafts, the surface movement radar. It will be tracking the vehicular movements also. So we will be coming to know at any point in time, in given time, that yes, this aircraft is being given a taxi clearance. For example, an aircraft, it has to go to for takeoff point, and if this aircraft has to go to the takeoff point, you can see that uh, the aircraft moving from its particular bay after boarding all the passengers all the way to the takeoff point. So that aircraft can be marked, it can be seen, the movement can be seen, it can be tracked, and we see to it that at this point the other aircrafts are not in the close vicinity, other vehicles are not in the close vicinity. This is the radar controller, the approach and area control. This is the control. This is the area where uh, the the tower controllers are specifically trained for aircraft can come from any side, right? There are number of routes we can see. You can see the on the right hand side there are number of at least on the right hand side you can see there is five to six aircraft which are around, and these aircrafts would be coming and landing on the same runway, right? So how do you make it happen? So the radar controller's responsibility is to sequence them, where what is their at present position, and depending on that position, these aircrafts will be sequenced. These aircrafts will be sequenced and brought in such a way that they can land one after the another, right? And if the distance between the two aircraft, landing aircraft, is more, at that time the tower controller would actually push in one departure. So any aircraft which is going to depart will have a second priority over the landing aircraft. Landing aircraft will have the first priority, right? They are sequenced depending on the distance from the airport reference point, ARP we call it. So from there we see how much time this aircraft is with. The nearer the aircraft in sequence, he comes first. So like this, the aircrafts, if there are 15 aircrafts or there are 10 aircrafts, all these aircrafts are given the sequence as number 1 to number X, depending on the distance from the ARP, that is aerodrome reference point, and then they are sequenced one after the another to land safely. So the job of this particular sequencing is done here. And the last uh, uh, controller, that is the tower controller, his job is from the approach, he will take over and just give the clearance for the aircraft to land. For example, there is a jeep on the runway doing something, some work, so he will say, okay, not cleared, go around, or maybe ask the jeep that can he move out of the runway in this stipulated time. If yes, okay, he continues the aircraft, he continues the aircraft for landing. Otherwise he would say the aircraft to go around. So this is what it is about, how the air is made safe at through these processes of air traffic control. We also have oceanic control. So there is another area. We have ocean. We have got Indian Ocean and a lot of aircraft which are coming. You can see if you have the radar picture is not clear, but most of the aircraft which are coming from foreign countries, they fly over the ocean, and during that time, at particular duration, they do not have any navets. So these aircrafts also have to be sequenced. They have also have to be given certain flight levels and the safety between all these aircraft which are flying, where we do not have the navigation aid per se, like we do not have, say, the VOR, because in the sea you can't put the VOR, or we cannot put the NDBs, or we cannot put. So what happens is, here we have got the synthetic, the satellite form of tracking is there, wherein the aircraft is sequenced uh, in a synthetic manner, and the sequence is maintained. And in case there are certain provisions, if the aircrafts to come close to each other, then there is a collision avoidance system which comes into play, and the aircrafts are told what is the standard operating procedure to avoid each other, at the same time continue with their flight. So this is a traffic area, how it is divided. It is divided into different zones, so that the controller, the whole idea is that one particular controller, when the aircraft is coming into Mumbai, one particular controller or one particular zone controller should not get more worked up, because it is a continuous job of monitoring and sequencing and keeping the distance between the two aircraft. We can see there is a lot of blips here. So the whole idea is to keep this blip uh, at acceptable separation, because, and you can see there is one on the right hand side, there is something red, where you can see that two aircrafts have come very close to each other and the boxes have turned red. This is a radar picture actually. The boxes have turned red. This is an indication to the controller that you need to do something here. Please look at this box. These two aircrafts are coming very close to each other, and you need to give attention to this and separate them. So here what happens is the controller immediately comes into action, and after coming into action, controller will immediately call this aircraft, and he will either instruct one aircraft to continue or another aircraft to descend. Either you know, in a space, how you can avoid the collision. Either you tell one straight moving aircraft to continue, and the other aircraft which is coming in the same straight line, ask him to descend. So if that aircraft descends, we can avoid the collision. So this is what is a very good typical slide, in which it is shown that how these two aircrafts are coming too close to each other, and how this aircraft, after coming too close to each other, how the software generates an alert which is called PCA CCA, the conflict alerts. We call it proximity, it is there, and very close conflict. So now at present, this looks to be a very close conflict here, and the conflicting aircraft which are there will be accordingly, given the instructions to either move away from each other by giving the different headings, or asking one aircraft to descend if the situation permits. It should not so happen that you are giving an aircraft a descent, and after descending it goes and comes in proximity with another aircraft. So all those things are the data is available with the controller. So controller will go through it, he will see, and accordingly he will assign the separation directions to the aircraft. Now this the radar. This is a typical, again, a picture where the radar controllers. This is oceanic. This is oceanic control, which is achieved. I just now told you that how it is done. This is the link. This is a satcom. The communication which comes here is through the satellite. Or the aircraft will communicate through the CPDLC. The CPDLC is a controller pilot data link. This is a data link actually, and through the data link, the data will be continuously flowing. So pilot will either give his PIREP, that is, we call it as a pilot report, or the basic information of that aircraft will be always available. So accordingly, through the satellite, we will be able to come. This is a one-way communication actually. We do not in the sense we keep monitoring. The oceanic region is continuously monitored, because at that point, separations and other things are not a criteria. It is only if the aircraft has whether taken proper clearance to enter into the airspace, because these are the area where our airspace starts, the Indian Ocean. Over that we have the air traffic control, we have the control over that air traffic. So, and that is our airspace. So somebody who is coming into our airspace has to have our permission. So the most of the time it will be only up to that, and plus the data transfer to see how two aircrafts on the same level longitudinally are separated, more or less, to keep monitoring this particular region. That's it. Next, here it is. We have talked many things about the air, about the aircraft movement, and how the things, how the safety is enhanced there with using different equipments and technology. Uh, Now I just wanted to tell you the comparative statement in this sort of, that how many passengers we handle, and how many different facilities are there. So here it is, the passenger movement in Mumbai. If you look at it, you can look around some 471 lakh approx, and here 684 in Delhi. So Delhi has surpassed us in terms of passenger movement, and the number of flights which are handled during the COVID period is drastically different, because a lot of the flights which during the COVID period were coming to Delhi, because all the medical assistance and everything was coming from various countries to Delhi only, and from Delhi it was no doubt moving into the different parts, but most of the international flights, they were coming to Delhi. And number of stands, if you can see, that the total aero bridges and number of stands, that is aero bridge stand and the remote stands. So if you can look at here, again there is a lot of vast difference here. What I was trying to make it a point here is that if you look at Bombay per se, we have got a very limited area, the operational area, the usable operational area, I call it. And in that operational area, we have to handle so many aircrafts and so many passengers. So definitely, it is bound to be very critical operation on the apron, on the various taxiways, all the movements around. Because once there is one, if there is one aircraft, then it will be serviced for the departure by many moving vehicles which will be coming for it. For example, I can tell you that the fuel bowser is there, the crew will be coming, then the engineering vehicles will be coming and going most often, then uh, uh, the dispensers will be coming, various dispensers will be coming. And in this for one aircraft, it is presumed that it is something like 10 to 15 movements will be there approximately. And on such a small area which is in Mumbai, these kind of movements will get multiplied with the number of aircraft during the peak hours. So you can imagine that how critical it is to see that no mishap occurs, no accident occurs, because every aircraft is fueled, and the aircraft is potentially, a very hazardous object at that time when it is fueled and it is ready to go. If there is a fuel spillage on the apron area or on the runway, it also becomes a very potential hazard, very serious situation. So if you look, Mumbai as an operational area, it is uh, very very critical compared to Delhi. Delhi has got a huge area. They have got two parallel runways, and you look at it. Here it is, the slide which I was just talking about. The total number of these are the vehicle permits which are given. You look at Mumbai, 1298 permits are given. These are the vehicles which operate into this area. And in Delhi, it is 1258. And look, just the usable area which is there in Delhi and Mumbai, and if you compare, I personally feel that we are very very critical in terms of the infra at Mumbai. And when the infrastructure is very much limited, at that time the chances of mishap automatically increases. So here on the ground again comes our duty to see that nothing untoward happens, and if there is any risk which is identified, then the mitigation of those particular risk, how to mitigate that risk, what are the procedures which are going to put in place, and how we will ensure safety is a critical area. Next next method of actually giving the safe sky is the reactive method, and it is what I would say is that it is very why it is reactive is because the accident occurs. You can you can make an attempt to prevent an accident, but at the same time you cannot eliminate the accident, because uh, I will just give an example of an automobile industry, just for comparison's sake. Uh, the auto skid the anti skid functions, which were not earlier there uh, on the cars, and this was a later development because number of skiddings used to happen and the accident increase. Accidents were very high due to skidding of the vehicles. uh, we have this system anti-skid. I took an example because we have got anti-skid on our aircrafts also. So this the skidding can occur due to contaminated roads, ice on the roads, or the road is wet. Similarly is applicable to the runway also. So if this particular anti-skid, without anti-skid it used to be very difficult, because the aircraft or a vehicle can go in any direction. Once it starts skidding, it becomes uncontrollable wherever is the momentum, and wherever side which is little bit you can say the friction is more, it will just either rotate around that point, or it just moves on with the momentum. So the anti-skid came in. This was a next generation. So anti-skid after coming, there was definitely sudden drop of accidents, because the new technology brought in the benefits. But you see what happens is that people started uh, the operating limitations which were earlier existing for the without anti-skid braking. People started exceeding those operating limitations by their driving beyond the operating limitations, because they knew that anti-skid will protect them. So the first say 1 year that could be seen as a drop in the accidents, but the second year again the accident level went to the same. So what happens is that technology can bring in the benefit, but then once it comes in, the operating limitations are exceeded, and people try to tend to exceed the operating limitations because they know that the machine has become more robust. So accidents occur, and we also after the investigation, we carry out investigation. After carrying out the investigation, we come to a point that what was the probable cause, and accordingly we do the recommendation. But accident is not a right way of preventing mishaps, because accident, the whole idea is that you have to reduce the accident, but at times it so happens that accidents do happen, and there can be multiple factors for it. It is not just a operating factor. It can be various other circumstances, various other pressures, operating pressures, which can contribute to the accident, and accidents do happen. So after accident, we investigate into those various situations, and after investigating, we come to a conclusion that this was the reason, and then accordingly recommendations are made. And then these recommendations comes in the form of operational circular. They come into the form of air safety circulars. They come into the form of airworthiness circulars, because the aircraft airworthiness, if it was compromised at that time because of some reasons, So it so happens that it is essential that those areas also need to be looked into by the airline concern or the maintenance agency concern, so that it does not occur. So accident is also a very reactive method, but it does serve purpose, and it does definitely uh, gives a knee-jerk reaction to the whole process of implementation of certain recommendations which may not have been or which may have been recommended earlier but not have been implemented. But it does help to immediately push the matter so that safety could be enhanced. Apart from this, I think I have covered more or less all the areas. So uh, I would wait for some questions to be asked by Atul.
Yes, Mr. Brahmane, thanks for the wonderful session. I'm sure the audience had enjoyed a lot of information that you gave from CBDLC to how Delhi has surpassed Mumbai traffic, both in terms of passenger traffic as well as number of flights handled. And it was very insightful to learn about how we are making our skies safer and the process of disseminating the learnings from the reactive method, which is from the crash as circulars. I have some questions. So let us start with the basic question. You you were a student at IIT in aeronautical engineering, and aeronautical engineering is not a common discipline. People would pursue. It requires a lot of motivation, patience, and ardent desire for excellence to complete a degree in aerospace engineering. Students, when they join such programs, do not know the future scope of aviation. It will be really helpful for the audience if you could shed some light onto what is in store for the students when they join the program and what is in store for them after graduation.
Uh, uh, Atul, it is a very nice question, and it is a very right time, I would say, uh, that this question need to be answered by all the aviation experts throughout India. Uh, yes, no doubt. During my time, the openings were very limited, as HAL was there, or DGCA was there, or maybe opting to become a bureaucrat and go into civil aviation ministry, something like that. But what happened in the communication uh, uh, field, like mobile telephony, similar kind of revolution is expected. Similar kind of boom is expected very soon in aviation also, with respect to drone. So uh, in my opinion, drone is the next level, the next gen. And if uh, the students from IITB, if they can think of various I mean, once you think about drone, normally people come and stop at, say, the utility of drone for commercial purposes. But that along with that, also the other very critical area which we all must be thinking is about the security aspect of drone, because most of the airports, most of the sanctuaries, uh, these all areas need to be, I think, protected from the drone invasions. uh, at the same time, it is very essential that we should not shy away from doing a lot of experiments on drone. And we need to do, I'm looking at IIT Bombay and the students of IIT Bombay and their initiative on this, that they have to look at, because there is going to be a huge market, a huge market, in my opinion, for the drone security. How we can disable the drones, how we can disable the drones in the approach area for the coming in aircraft landing for to any airports. uh, so I think drone is the thing when I look at it at present. And plus the EVs or the alternate fuels which are coming in for the because most of the people who can afford now small aircrafts, but the new aircrafts which I am thinking about with the EVs kind of battery operated aircrafts. Uh, uh, I think there is lot of research to be done, and we need to surge ahead of many countries if we really think that we have to make a substantial contribution in this area. So aviation is the next thing, and along with aviation, probably yes, the related industry with respect to maybe batteries, battery management computers, or security systems, all those things, they are the next big things which are going to be in the aviation.
Thanks, Mr. Brahman. It's great to know the bright future of aviation ahead of us. I'm sure it'll be reassuring for all the people who are going to pursue this in the future. So, my next question is, what advice would you give to a freshman in IIT Bombay Lingo, a freshie joining our department, not just in terms of academics, but from a holistic growth perspective?
I think first of all, the passion. One has to have a passion, and I still believe in the old school of thought that if you are not made an aircraft, you are not an aeronautical engineer. So make an aircraft. If you want to prove to yourself that you are an aeronautical engineer, at least start with your drone. Or I mean, you have to. So there is a lot of things, a lot of the utility just at this moment can't be even thought about. So much offshoots are coming out from the drone this thing. So there is a lot of scope. I don't think there is aviation is going to be same after the drone coming onto the landscape of aviation. So I think this is a there is no pessimistic view anymore about aviation. They should work hard. They should try to work on autonomous vehicles, the drones which are not in real time control, but an autonomous drones which can go from one point to another. There are so many areas. I'm just and especially the autopiloting systems, which are they, there can be a lot of things, lot of work which they can contribute now. There is no looking back. Aviation is going to be the thing, and it is just where they want to stop. But as far as aviation, the scope is vast now, and people who have gone from with the aviation degree into uh, data, big data management, and all those things, whatever it may be, but it is definitely useful because uh, the technology ultimately converges. It has got the potential to converge into something which is a big thing. So I don't think it is there is any pessimistic view. They should enjoy, and whatever field they like, they should just have passion, and they should jump into it and do it. That's more important.
Uh, Thanks, Mr. Brahmane, for the answer. We talked about how glamorous the future of aviation is. So you oversee the air safety for Western region, and India has been seeing double-digit growth in air passenger traffic before COVID hit our country. The pandemic disrupted the tourism industry, and a lot of airlines went bankrupt around the globe. Do you think India will get back to its glorious time in aviation
Oh
anytime soon?
yes, actually, we were bouncing back very strongly, but the second wave kind of was a dampener, and but it's just a matter of time. We are already at 75% or so, say 70 to 75% of the load factor, and it's just a matter of time before we bounce back completely. And the aviation, the airline industry as such, is going to be back on track as far as India is concerned, because I think a lot of things which are there now, if you look at it, uh, we have getting the Air India again. The disinvestment program is there, which is going on, and plus. The two new airlines are coming up. So I think a lot of buzz around, lot of activity around. So it's just a matter of time. But 2022, I think, uh, will bring us a lot of hope and a lot of growth as well.
All right. Thanks for the answer. So now this is more of a personal question. As an alum, what do you miss the most about IIT Bombay?
Uh, I love, if you ask me personally, I still love my wind tunnel, which I don't know whether it is whether it is functional or not. But if I get an opportunity, I would like to still go and spend hours together in my wind tunnel and keep doing something, tinkering with something. And so IIT Bombay is all about that. Plus, no doubt, my hostel. Hostel 7 is like a family, and we are very much closely knit uh, friends together. And the best part is that we are going to Goa now, Hostel 7 heights, and we will have a mad event there for 3 days. And this will be live to the another mad event simultaneously being organized in Phoenix, USA. So you can imagine we'll be almost 30, 40 guys there, and we will be interacting with them. It's a the the process of really spending time and learning from each other and keep quizzing each other for even at this age makes IIT Bombay very special. And I really, I still become nostalgic when I think about my hostel and campus.
Thanks for the answer, Mr. Brahmane. Yeah, the winters are still active. I remember doing experiments of that a few years back and have fun in the trip. Uh, Also, how to build a career in government service post an aerospace technical degree from IIT Bombay, which is a question a lot of students are continuously asking every year. Can you share your story from your life at IIT Bombay to DGCA for our audience?
Yeah, actually, after graduating, there was a big after graduating from IITP, there was a big question mark that what to do. So, and that time either it was HAL or Air India, something like that. So I was really confused man at that time. And thanks to my professor, Professor Sane, who was a gas turbine uh, expert. So he said, "What you want to do?" I said, I'm not clear now." So okay, so he had actually patented two products. So at that time, I was thinking, I'll manufacture those and I will sell. So I wanted to get into business at that time. And when I was in the process of manufacturing those, because that time this gas, you must have heard about this Mahanagar Gas Limited, and the CNGs were just about to, the CNG used to get wasted in the offshore. So that was not yet the process of getting it for the automobiles was yet not in place. So, but the idea was that we should have the flow meters, and flow, whenever there is a flow or fluid dynamics, it is again the aero guys who come up with some solutions for that. So Professor Sane said, okay, let's make a flow meter so that the last drop of gas will be known to the consumer when he's in his car. So, okay, we were working on that. And I thought that I will make flow meters and then I will sell it. So it all started with that. I was working on that project, and suddenly his friend from DRDO, the director of aeronautics, he calls him and tells, "I'm looking for three students from your campus. So you interview them and send them." So he interviewed two of them, one from metallurgy, one from mechanical. And then I was sitting in front of him working something out, and he looked at me and he says, "You go to DRDO." And that's how I landed up in DRDO. But DRDO, I always felt that I'm not a scientist kind of material. So DRDO, 1 or 2, 1.5 year was okay. Then I gave my UPSC, and then I went to DGCA. DGCA is more of a regulator, and DGCA has got 400 office, 400, around 400, 500 officer approximately, including the non-technical side. So DGCA is an opportunity for the aeronautical engineers, because the drone regulations are coming up, the drone operations procedures are coming up. So DGCA is also an opportunity, but it depends on how you look at it. And I personally feel that the people who understand technology can be the people who can actually say, make a better regulation, make a better protocols. Regulation is nothing but a protocol. So I think that is there. And a lot of private players are coming into. I think Tatas are making the shell of Sikorsky here helicopter in Hyderabad. Then uh, 4 to 5 companies are there in Bangalore which are making, which are supplying the door technology and other things in to Airbus industry. So there are a lot of players now, and it is going to proliferate. I mean, it is not the end of it. It is only going to proliferate. It is only going to increase. So, in my opinion, there are a lot of places where IIT Bombay aeronautical engineering students should look at. And his core area and intelligence is into kind of R&D kind of thing. So there are a lot of R&D organizations around now. Design organizations are there. We have given, I think, 5 to 6 organizations are there in Bangalore itself. We have been given design approval by DGCA. But anybody who is designing an aeronautical product has to get a DGCA approval. So we have approved almost 6 to 7 organizations are there in Bangalore. I'm aware of it. Then there is something like Boeing and HAL has got their own joint venture in Bangalore. So what I mean to say is that there are a lot of scope. I mean, plus civil services remains. I mean, I personally feel that aeronautical engineers should be entering into civil services so that they take over the charge of the Ministry of Civil Aviation and make policies there. So there is a lot of scope everywhere, and there is nothing to get disheartened. Getting jumping immediately and thinking about uh, probably high returns uh, will uh, will not be a long term solution.
Right. Thanks so much for the answer. I'm sure this would give a lot of breathing space to people who are currently pursuing aerospace or aeronautical degrees. So my last question is also a slightly personal question. So what is that one memory that you have very close to your heart from IIT Bombay that you would like to share with us?
Of uh, my I had an E in one subject, structures, and I will never forget. It was Professor Mujumdar. I think Bhatnagar Award. He was a recipient of Bhatnagar Award, and he gave me E. Uh, I don't know what we were doing at that time, but so I was very much disturbed. So he said, "Okay, come tomorrow night, and tomorrow night, and give your the exam." I said, "Okay, sir." So next day, I went around 8 o'clock or so. So he made me sit in his room, and then he pulled out one paper and he gave me, and he said, in front of me only he gave. So I was just writing there, and I was. So he said that I still remember his words, and really, he said, if you could write these things 3 days back, I think this day would not you would not have seen this day. Okay, and by the time I think I was on third or fourth question, he said, "Go." That's all. So there are really memories which IITB, the the impetus of excellence which is there in IITB can be seen in every action of the faculty, and the way they teach, and the way they groom you. Uh, these are the wonderful memories which I think every one of us cherish about.
It's very interesting to hear the story. I hope he changed the grade after that exam.
I think he goes to what you know that. Okay.
So my questions are actually, I mean, in the interest of time, I'll just not ask you any more questions. Uh, but it was a pleasure having you here with us for the last 1 hour. On behalf of IIT Bombay Alumni Association, may I extend you a special gratitude for being with us on a weekend. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
sir. Have a great
Thank you.
weekend ahead, and
Thank you for calling me for this interview. It is an honor, and I'm humbled. Thank you.
thank you so much.